Well, I've indeed pulled in from Der Weltkrieg this track to use as my general purpose track. I am, however, keeping track of 7 geographic objective points on this other track. These aren't terribly important except when you are going to assess victory points, and I can reassign them, recheck them at that point. While I was looking at the victory point situation, and yes, we're about to start, this is something I noticed when I read it. This 0 victory point for fewest GOP total on civilization, that's obviously a typo there, and also lower stability by 1. It looks like the charts have a slightly different interpretation of this whole thing. They give you a penalty to stability for having the least victory points in a game turn and a bonus for having the most. I'm not sure which is correct. Usually I go with the rulebook over the charts because quite often the charts are printed previously. However, here it looks like the rulebook actually has the mistakes in it. So I'm going to kind of focus more on the charts there. All right. Okay. Really dragging my feet here, as I often am with longer games. I got the activation shits in the cup. As far as I can see, the player order is going to be going this way, actually. Got AM number 1 there. Starting with the Romans. That seems to be what the scenario suggests. Doesn't seem to be a difference from this. Now there's the, okay, now what? Well, Rome's got to pay a talent in order to use the activation that they have set. That's no big deal. We got that. And they get a card. Alright. Pontus. Playing this card activates the Kingdom of Pontus. Go see some rule. Once played, it's permanently removed from the game. So this is 12.55. Well, I'm going to have to look that up because that may be what I most want to do right now. Although at this point, it feels like I have sort of this desire to try to kick the Greeks out of the Roman homeland. That'll get me additional income to do that. Alternatively, I could try expanding somewhere, say into Narbonensis or something, but I think I really want to focus on the Greeks down here in southern Italy. So I'm going to look at Pontus, see what that does, and then probably take a move, because building cities is economically less valuable than trying to conquer them from a nearby person, and there is a city here. Those can be rebuilt at a cheaper rate than they can be built to begin with, and the cost of building... See, here's the thing. You don't want to be the last rated guy, and nobody is in that position in the Civ points because the East and Rome are equivalent here. But Rome is the last on the global points. So they really need to improve their position and or decrease the Eastern points. Being tied with someone, you get to share their higher valued points, which is kind of nice. But you don't want to be the guy who produces the least victory points either, because remember, that's going to hit the stability. Alright, let's see what we get. So what the Pontus card is going to do is it's going to create a little force here in Pontus, which right now is a pro-Greek territory. If I'm going to attack the Greeks, that does not seem like a bad idea. They actually get... doesn't seem to be any counters for them. But they do get an activation chip. As to counters, well, I'm going to have to figure out what to use for them. I may use Romans just to indicate that, hey, the Romans control them. I'm going to look at the counter scans for this game and see if I'm missing significant pieces of it. Alright. Well, it turns out the pieces I seem to be missing show up in a C3I, I think issue 19, or maybe over several issues. You know, standard old style GMTs, hey, how to fix an error, we'll make you buy it. We'll make you buy something for 20 bucks to get your error fixed. They've gotten better over time, there's no question there, but at least with Here I Stand, I know that they put out for the advanced edition, hey, here's your counters. You know, we're not going to make you spend $20 more to get the rest of your game. Unfortunately, also with this, in addition to not having everything up to date on the counter sheet, the opportunity objectives are incorrect. They look like the charts are correct, and that brings to mind that the charts must have been completed afterwards, but the rule book itself has problems. When we look up at the way they're handled in the rules, they don't match the counters for the objectives. The counters are lettered, etc. It's as though, you know, some old version of these maybe made it into the rule book or something. Again, you know, this is just bad production levels to make this kind of mistake. You can see errors like that happening. I found some online. I don't have a printer, so I can't really correctly get the rules. They match the chart. You pay for these OOPs, or yeah, instead of here it looks like you just draw a few of them, and they're actually per country. Over here with the ones that actually match the counters and match whatever corrections there are to the rules. So anyway, I would strongly suggest waiting on the new printing. Just for these cleanup issues. I didn't realize there was this much of an issue with the game. There's no notes about it, no big complaints on Board Game Geek. But yeah, apparently there's rules that indicate that you actually have to buy these suckers, and unfortunately I don't think there's a chart for that here. It's hard to tell. There's so many charts in this game, so you end up kind of missing some of what you need if you don't have a printer. Such as I can handle little, you know, minor errata issues, but this is an issue of major kind of production mismatch. They came out with these charts in the counter sheet that did not match the rule book. That's very odd. Usually I'm used to the rules having errata in them rather than the charts. Anyway, it's making it harder and harder to actually start this thing. Alright, I vaguely remembered seeing this. I actually have the sheet in the book, in the game. I don't think it's a photocopy. I think it was sent, or a print job. I think it was probably sent as a final, we screwed up on the rule books type of thing. I don't see any notification of that. Maybe a little GMT thing says so. No, those just say we've collected everything. I don't think I have any, but they could have included a slip saying, hey, you need this. And, you know, I mean, my game's used, so you wouldn't know. So I got to kind of retract all that. I can't believe they didn't, you know, they messed up that much. It's a shame, but it looks like it was caught in time. You know, I mean, it wasn't a matter of one thing changing and them not catching the rule book. But this is itself flawed. For one thing, they fixed the Civ points issue. They don't take away any. They don't take away any points on stability for failing to get Civ points now, but they did leave in the line that says it's for the person with the lowest GOP total, GOP being the geographic objective points instead. That doesn't appear to be the case. The example appears to be the Civ points. I'm continuing to deal with that the way I did. But what is different, they did not fix this. So here it lists you get victory points for all three things together, but in the rewrite of the opportunity objectives, which looks like it was fully rewritten, if those are used, which is only in scenarios 5 and 6 now, if those are used, they are instead of geographic objectives. I don't know if they're worth it then. that's one problem I have. I can see where they would really unbalance a game if somebody gets one of them. But I'm not sure I'm thrilled with the handling of these, and I feel like I've got to stop and think about these suckers and how I want to play them. Because, look, it's obvious that not a whole hell of a lot of thought went into generating this new setup for it. It's probably something that got ripped out in the last few minutes when they were saying, well, the old objectives weren't working, here are the complaints, here, let's fix it, and not sufficient playtesting went through to it. Plus, it's also sort of not to my taste. Now, the old version I could still use with little number chits or something, unfortunately, or replacing these chits. Alternatively, though, I do have this option, which is this purchase. I like the idea of the purchase, where you want to keep your stability high for it. I actually do not like the idea, though, that these chits are not in addition to your other victory points. And I really have to think about this. And I have the feeling this is not going to be the first video of the actual gameplay, because I'm getting so caught up in little issues outside the rules or ways of handling things or whatever, that I'm just going to load this up as some sort of strange thing. I'm going to think about this some more, probably delay another day or something before I actually start this sucker, because, I don't know, not a day, but another hour watching a video or something, because I just cannot right away make that decision. Okay, one last thing. Looking over the chart, the design appears to be that some of these objectives earn GOP points. They don't get you straight victory points. So this 8-point thing, that's GOPs that you get towards your objective. Now I'm curious, is that how it used to be in the original side of it? Yeah, see, these accumulated straight victory points at high values. So what it means is it does not hurt you to collect the objective opportunities. It just isn't going to unbalance the game by giving you 8 more victory points. It's going to put you higher up on the GOP level. Now the alternative, though, is that 3 of these earn actual victory points. I think that's what they're trying to express here, looking at the chart after reading the rules for it. And that does not work as clearly with this, but it doesn't completely contradict it. There would be victory points for specific OOPs in addition to what you'd get off the GOP ones. Whatever. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to load this sucker up because it's full of missteps, and I damned if I know what I'm going to mark it as, but then we'll get started on this for real, and I'll describe the crap there so that, you know, even if you saw this, you're not gaining anything. Haha.